Ladies and gentlemen, this is 99 miles per hour with Perci Garner, and we'd like to thank our sponsor, Your Pizza, the finest pizza anywhere. But if you don't like pizza, which everyone does, they got wings, sandwiches, subs, and of course salads for those of you who like to be healthy, not like me. Also, I would like to mention the network that allows me to have this podcast, and that is the Get Level Podcast Network. There's plenty of other podcasts, a lot of content to get through. And also, go check out the website, getlevelpod.com. It'll be up somewhere around here. Go there, check out all the websites. You can also listen. If you don't want to watch the whole thing, you can listen audible without any interruptions. And then also, to the Rainbow Connection. I am the new executive director there, and we are having our telethon that we have every year. And we're expecting big things, even though in these tough times, we know the community can always come through. That is March 7th, starting at 11 a.m. And then also my scholarship fund, also trying to raise money for a Dover student in these hard times to get some help for them to attend college.
Welcome to me casa, make yourself at home, do your do. Welcome to my pad, this your lab, go create your move.
What's good, everybody? Welcome to 99 miles per hour with me, your host, Perci Garner, and I have a special guest today. So unfortunately for her, she was my kindergarten teacher a long time ago, like 5 years ago, and I had a great experience with her. And then, years went by, and now she's this accomplished woman who is now entering another stage of her life. And I'm excited to hear about her journey and, how she got to where she's at, so I can take some tips from her, and hopefully you guys can get inspired as well. Ladies and gentlemen, it's always weird saying this, Mrs. Birney, Carla Birney. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fine, and you can call me Carla.
All right. Good. You always say that, but I don't know. It doesn't roll off my tongue right. But I'm glad to have you on the show. I'm glad you agreed to be on. But there's a lot of stuff that I want to get to, and, I'm not going to bombard you with 65 million questions. But there are some things that I'm always interested in on these podcasts, and I want to get some of that stuff answered, and just your approach on life and your work ethic and stuff, because nobody becomes a superintendent by just lollygagging around and falling into that position. But I guess just what's going on currently, with your kids, and, I guess they're really not kids anymore, but they're kids and stuff like that.
Well, I am blessed that both of my daughters, who are both Dover grads, live in Dover with their husbands. And Jennifer, my oldest, has two children, Cassidy and Miles. And Allison, my youngest, and her husband have two and one on the way. So shout out to Matthew and Samuel, and then the new one to be born in June. So
nice. Are they waiting? Are they doing the surprise thing, or they know what it is and everything?
We will find out January 15th.
Okay. So, all right. That's exciting.
So my husband and I live in Dover and enjoy being with our daughters and their husbands and families, and life is good.
Nice. Now, have you always lived in Dover?
I didn't. Actually, when I was your kindergarten teacher, I lived near Deersville in Harrison County.
I was about to say something else.
No, I'm a Harrison County. I grew up in Harrison County, and my husband and I had a farm in Harrison County and lived there. But when I became the elementary curriculum director, there was just a lot more time involved, and we had always talked about having our daughters attend Dover schools, and the time was right. We made the move back in 1998.
Nice. So wait, when was I? Let's not talk about that. So obviously, you just released some big news, and we talking about retirement. Now even though I'm 32, I'm just now entering my career into the real, the workforce world. And I'm trying to learn as much as I can, so I'm glad to have you on today. But just talk about, we'll get into your career path, because I'm real curious about that. But just talk about, what retirement means to you, and, I guess what you're looking forward to most in retirement.
Well, it's a very interesting time, because from your age and all through your career, retirement is something that you say, well, someday when I retire, I'm going to do this or that. Or you say, you know, wow, I can't wait till I retire. And for me, that someday is now. And so that's a little scary.
Yeah.
My husband and I love to travel, usually just within the United States, the continental United States. We've been to Alaska and Hawaii. So we're looking forward to a lot of fun trips. I think our first one may be to Utah, to the national parks.
Nice.
And then with the grandchildren living in Dover, you know, I've told my colleagues and friends that I'm going to be Dover's greatest cheerleader, but I'm going to be grandma. You know, I'm going to be the grandma sitting in the stands yelling or sitting along the court or along the field, cheering on Dover schools, but cheering on through my grandchildren.
Nice. That's, I mean, that's always what, and I'm talking about that a lot with Carmel, you know, and she's looking forward to it. But women like you and Carmel, you know, you're not going to like not doing nothing. So obviously you're going to be traveling and she's traveling as well. But I have a feeling that, you know, retirement isn't really going to be the typical retirement with you two. But, I mean, obviously spending time with your family, that's what I've always looked forward to. And, you know, obviously being pretty busy like you have been, I mean, I can't imagine, but you know, just spending time with your family, like how have you been, you know, outside of, you know, you and your husband and your plans to travel? Like, what are your most, you know, prideful things you can do with your grandkids? You know, I mean, how old are they? Are they able to kind of get out there and do stuff or?
So the oldest is 10.
Oh, okay, yes.
And then her brother is 7, Miles is 7, Matthew's 3, Samuel's 1. So it's a pretty wide range, but I love to cook and bake, and so they all love to pull the chairs up at my counter, and we do those kinds of things.
Nice.
We do take them on short trips, weekend kinds of things. We love to take walks. We still have a farm in Harrison County, and so the grandchildren love to go down there and hike and, you know, just kind of be out. So my husband has been retired for 7 years, and so he has been the primary babysitter for both of our girls. So I'll get to help with that too, and that'll be fun.
I'm sure they'll appreciate that. Yeah, I know my in-laws, they have I guess you can call it a farm type deal. It's a little cabin out way out there, and you know, something where I'm not always comfortable, but I'm trying to, my kids love it. They love running around out there, you know, getting on Paul's 4-wheeler and stuff like that. You know, maybe I'll adjust one of these days, but yeah, so other than, you know, putting up with me, like what was how did you get into teaching? Was this something you always wanted to do, or was it just like, oh yeah, you kind of just, this is something nice and I can do this?
I always kind of think that I was born to be a teacher for a lot of reasons. My grandparents were both teachers. My mom and my sister are teachers. Wow. So there was a lot of talk about school and teaching and learning at our family get-togethers and around the dinner table. So my life growing up revolved around school, the school schedule. My dad was very involved in helping the athletic teams. And so it was a big part of my life. But I think as I looked to a career, I have always been fascinated with early childhood education. Gotcha. And hence being your kindergarten teacher. Teaching young children to read and watching their minds develop number sense and learning mathematics has always it's always challenging, and it's intrigued me just to be a part of that. Gotcha.
I mean, we were it's not really counting, but, you know, we were having the little vegetable straws with Peyton, and I was having her count, and she was repeating me because she's good at repeating now, but it was just so, you know, we had her count to 3, and then we would cheer. So now she knows when she counts to 3, we cheer. But no, it's a great experience. I always thought I was going to be a math teacher. When I was in, Tim Smith, I can say his name, it rolls off, but, and I think I talked about this with you and just the influence he had on me. And I was like, I want to be a math teacher, man. Like, he has so much fun. and he was still, involved with football. And I still remember, the stuff he taught us in school. I think I had him for geometry my freshman year, and we talked about SOHCAHTOA or trigonometry, sine, cosine, tangent, stuff like that. So I still remember that stuff. So it is crazy the impact that you guys have, and it's not something that I would say, I know when I'm in my job, when I was playing baseball, I didn't always think, the impact I have as a baseball player. It kind of you kind of get caught up in the day to day. Hey, these are my teaching plans. This is what I got to do. And I think sometimes you might forget about, how important or just the little things you do, will leave an imprint. I mean, was that something that was important to you when you were like, all right, I'm going to be a teacher. There's something I'm always going to be leaving an impact or an influence on these children, so I have to do this and that. Was there pressure that you felt, or?
I think it's a great responsibility, but I wanted my students to know first that I cared about them. And I hope that any of my kindergarten students might look back and not really maybe remember exactly what they learned, but how they felt in my classroom as far as everyone being accepted and everyone being encouraging and caring about each other. And I think, as you remember, Mrs. Estep,
yep.
She was my classroom assistant for the 9 years that I taught kindergarten, and still a very good friend. And I think the two of us tried to create this accepting and loving and caring environment for all of our kids to get a good start, because I think kindergarten's important. If you don't like kindergarten, you have a rough 13 years ahead of you, and so making kindergarten and coming to school just the best thing ever was important to Mrs. Estep and to me also.
Yeah, well, I can definitely vouch and say, I would say as a adult, a lot of times we can remember the bad things or terrible experiences we had as children. But from what I remember, and of course I have a couple photos from class, but I remember being dressed up as a Pittsburgh Steelers player and just all the friends I had in the class. There was Bo Harstein, Mia Davis, Josh Atkinson. Just a lot of people that I've eventually, with Dover schools, you graduate with them because, we graduate our students, but it's, all I can remember was good times, and I can remember as I got a little bit older, I got a little bit more ornery. I don't know how it was in your class, but I just know, second or third grade is when I got a little out of hand. But before, just the impact that teachers had, even Mr. Andrews, he was my third grade teacher. And, I apologize if you ever see this, Mr. Andrews, but I was a pain in third grade, and the way he just dealt with it, because as a teacher, you have to have patience. And I don't know if I would have had his patience. But, so I kind of want to, so we talked about you teaching and the impact that you had on your students. Now moving into how that flowed into becoming superintendent, just tell me how that happened, because I don't know the path and how that works. You just teach for a certain amount of time. They're like, okay, you're ready to be, in this position, or how's that work?
Well, I'm very blessed because I had a lot of good mentors that I worked with in all of my roles in Dover schools. So I taught kindergarten for 9 years, and then I was asked to be the elementary curriculum director. And at that point, Dover had never had an elementary curriculum director. They had someone that did K through 12. And so I got to focus just on elementary teaching and learning and working with the teachers. And I did that for 7 years. And then our assistant superintendent took a job in another district, and you probably remember Bob Ham.
Yep.
And he was the superintendent, and he chose me to be the assistant superintendent at the time.
Nice.
And just, his faith in me and my abilities. And I grew a lot. I learned a lot from Bob, and Brenda Hurst was the treasurer, and the three of us worked very closely together on a lot of things. And so I did that for 10 years. And then when Bob retired, the board selected me to be the superintendent. And I can say that every role that I've played has had its rewards and it's had its challenges. But I've always believed that we're put in a place for a reason and for a purpose and a time. And I think By the time I had been assistant superintendent for 10 years, and I was asked if I was interested in the superintendency, it just felt like it was time, and it was the role that I needed to play at that time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, how do you prepare for that? Because I know me moving into the executive director position at Rainbow, it's scary just because I've never, led an organization, especially following someone who has done a good job. I mean, not saying it's easy, but, if someone had done a bad job, then it's really not hard for you to come in and, see what people want you to do and kind of do that so you get the approval. But, I mean, just following that, obviously the mentors, they had a big impact, and I always look out for mentors. I encourage people to, to shadow somebody. If someone knows exactly what you want to do and they know how to do it and they've done it well, then why not? There's not many people out there to go, hey, I'm keeping everything a secret. Leave me alone. So, but was there any, I guess, because I have a little bit of not anxiety, but just a little bit of nervousness about, stepping into this role. Was there any of that for you, or you just by that time you've had so much experience, what was that, 26 years before you were a superintendent? So was it just I am ready to take to take this job and roll with it? Or was it I kind of forced into this job, or, hey, I'm not quite ready, or I doubt it was, but, share how you felt rolling into that position.
I felt like I was ready, but I've always believed that it doesn't matter how much you watch someone do a job until you really do the job. It's different. You can sit from the sideline and say, oh, well, that was an easy decision, or, question or support, whatever. But actually being that person who has to stand up and say, this is what we're doing, and this is why we're doing it. I don't know that anything prepares you for that. I believe that there are leaders at every level of any organization. And I look at you taking on the role as executive director for the Rainbow Connection, but you've been a leader your whole life, as a student athlete, in college, all the things that you've done professionally, you've been a leader. Yeah. You've put yourself out there as an example. You've led by your character and your thoughts and those kinds of things. You've given back to your community, and so all of those traits are really what you need, whatever leadership role you step into next. And so, there's always a learning curve as far as how you do a specific job, but the leadership skills that you possess, whether it's as a teacher or as a community member, they will serve you well, whatever role. And I think that's, for me, that's what I had to fall back on. I jokingly told the board when they were going to select me as superintendent that there wouldn't be a honeymoon period. That so many times when you hire someone from outside of a community, there's a time where everybody's like, oh, I hear they're nice, or, oh, I hear, have you met the new superintendent? And I said, I'd worked in this community 26 years. And I said, people are either going to say, oh, great, Carla Birney, I know her. Yeah. Or some people are going to go, oh, Carla Birney, and that was 6 years ago. And I think what I had going for me is that this community knew me. They know my character. They know my heart for kids. They know my abilities. They know my weaknesses, too, as we all have them. And so I think that was what prepared me to be the face of Dover schools.
Gotcha. Well, that was well put, just because I know for me, I had never been an intentional leader. It just kind of happened just with the way the person I am. And it always just ended that way. Even when I got, at the professional level, I never, to me, I was like, oh, I got so much to learn, or, I got to do all this. But as the season went along, I noticed, I'm like, oh, okay, I'm kind of, leading this team here. But, obviously being in a position where everyone knows it is your position, your title says it's a little different, but to get to the position that you're at and to have the career you've had in education, who, like, I know we talked about Bob Ham and some mentors you had. Who else were some inspirations to you that really just stood out and you were like, you know what, I want to do right because of this person, or I want to do this because of that person?
Well, my husband, first of all, has been beside me my whole career. We joke because when he married me, I really had a little bit of college left, and we were looking forward to me getting finished and that type of thing. And he has now said that I've gone to school my whole life, that, he thought I was going to be done with school in a couple years, and that wasn't true as I continued to get my master's and take other classes. But he's always been my greatest supporter, my sounding board, sometimes he jokingly says that he says the things that I can't say, and we have those private conversations. But he's always been a great supporter. My parents have always been supportive of my kids. But I student taught in Dover in 1985. And Barb Langler has been a dear friend ever since then. I student taught with her in first grade, and Margaret Ann Brunner in kindergarten. And Barb and I have remained very good friends, and she's always been like that cheerleader, supporter in the background when I'm going through some rough times. She's always reaching out, like, you're doing the right thing. And so there's just a lot of people that are just continue to support me and encourage me, and that's a real blessing.
Well, having those people is crucial, and I have a lot of those supporters. I mean, people my age, aunts, uncles, that are older. It's very, people don't realize how important it is until you're in that position where you're like, dang, is this right? Am I doing this? And then you get that little alert, you pick it up, and you're like, it just feels good. So, I mean, those people, some of them recognize, like Micah Mills for that is me. He always points out, stuff about me that necessarily he knows deep down, like, oh, Perci can handle that, but I might not believe it so myself. And then he'll speak it into existence. I'm like, oh, okay, if Micah believes that, then
yeah.
So, I mean, that's good. And I know we talked about, and I want to touch about a little bit more of your hobbies. I know you talked about, baking with your grandchildren and stuff like that, but you look like you play Fortnite or something on the side. No, I'm just...
Solitaire. I have to admit.
Nice. Like it. Love it. Oh, that's great to hear. So, before we wrap it up, I do want to, because you did mention some, weaknesses, and everybody has them, but I want to know what you think your strengths were. So obviously you feel, your love and your passion for, education and children that obviously fueled, your career, but what do you think, what are some skills you developed where you're just like, what, and I know it's hard to talk about yourself sometimes, but, what are some things you think helped you, kind of have this career that you had in education?
That is hard to talk about. I don't know. That's the toughest question yet. I think the respect and the camaraderie, that I built over the years with our staff, our community, the administrators that I work with very closely, like building that culture of, again, kind of translating from a kindergarten classroom to a bigger scale of acceptance of everyone, acceptance of differences of opinions. My job, many, many times, I have to listen to all sides. I don't know that I ever make a decision that everybody's happy about.
Impossible.
And so I've always tried to be the person that does what's right, not what's popular, not what's, the easiest thing to do. And sometimes some of the things I've had to do as a superintendent have been very difficult. And, but I think the people who know me know that I will be truthful with them. I will accept their difference of opinion and still care about them as a person, and turn around in a week or so and pick up and work together again. I don't hold grudges. I think that we all work together for the betterment of our children. And so, I don't know if that's a strength.
No, yeah.
You probably have to ask all the people that work with me.
Yeah.
I don't know that I can tell you my weaknesses because I know them really well. So
yeah, as humans, we love to think about the things we can improve, and sometimes it's a good thing. But I would agree with your strengths that you chose. I mean, that's one thing that I would probably say about myself is I love being happy and bringing joy. I'm not gonna bring someone down just because they don't believe the same thing I do or have the same opinion. So I think that's huge, especially being a superintendent. Like you said, you're not going to, appease everybody with decisions, especially the decisions that have been made as of late. It's been, hectic and crazy, and I know that's been tough. But I believe you handled it well, and, this community, it's something we're going to look back on eventually and, see that we came out better for what we've, went through. I know, and I say this pretty much every episode, but if it wasn't for COVID, then this podcast wouldn't exist. So, and I'm pretty sure there's a lot of other podcasts out there that wouldn't exist. But I guess since you wanted to talk about it, what are some things you think you needed to work at to, I guess, thrive and as a teacher and as a superintendent?
Well, I think one of the things is balance. I'm not sure that I'm really good at balancing work and home. And I think that's even more difficult when you have a job that you love. Yeah. Because there's always one more thing you can do at work. There's one more, something that'll take your attention away from your family and downtime and taking care of yourself. Yes. And I guess as I look back, I tried, but I think that's something that I really had to work at. And if you don't take care of yourself, you're really not good to others either. You do a better job when you're taking care of yourself and taking time to exercise and spend time with the people you love and read a good book and all of those things. So that was a challenge. I also think I'm not very good at confrontation. And
me neither.
Yeah. And to be the superintendent is like really, that was one of the things as I was weighing if I should take the job or not and if I was really the right person. That little voice inside of me kept saying, but you're really not very good at confrontation. Do you remember that? And
that little voice.
Yeah. So I think I got better at it maybe, but that's still something I really have to work at.
Yeah. And I would say, the work-life balance is, call me right now if you have the answer to that. But I know a lot of people who struggle with that. And the biggest point I think you made, especially when you have a job you love, and obviously that was really hard for me with baseball being gone 7 months. But luckily my wife, Krista, was able to, persevere through all the adversity and handling a lot of stuff by herself. But, you women are superheroes. So, and I always say that, there's some things like my wife got sick one time and it was all bad. The whole house was dependent on me, and you did not want to see that house. But those are things when you really appreciate, like, wow, okay, women are really superheroes, and how they did all this. As long as the baby was all right. I didn't shower, Perci didn't shower, the house was a mess, but she was all right. So that was all that mattered. But no, I appreciate you taking the time to come here and speak a little bit about, your journey in this great community. Well, now I have to welcome all of Tuscarawas County now, but obviously Dover has a special place in my heart. But is there anything else you wanted to share, say? You don't have to give like a farewell speech, but is there something we didn't cover or I forgot that you just want to mention?
I just think that over the last 35 years, my greatest joy is watching the children of this community grow into young adults and adults. And Perci, you're one of those. I can remember your face as a 5-year-old. I can remember you being in my classroom. And
looks similar, doesn't it?
Yeah, you haven't aged much. Neither have I, right?
Exactly. I think your hairstyle might have been different back then.
Maybe, yeah. But just there's no greater reward or blessing than to watch children grow into adults. And now that you've returned to the community with your own family, that will be what I miss the most. Being a part of that, being a part of watching our children grow and develop and follow their passions. But I really believe that there are great things on the horizon for Dover schools. And so I will enjoy, like I said, watching it as grandma and just sitting back and being amazed.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to see where, because my kids are going to be going. Well, Perci already is, but, I can't wait for them to enter that beautiful school. And I saw your little quote in the newspaper about, Dover, the high school being recognized it's a great building. I mean, how can it not? But I'm looking forward to it. I do wish I could knock some years off so I can go attend that high school. But like I said, I appreciate having you. As I'm pretty sure the Dover community, we thank you for the many years that you have, helped our children and us. It's been great, and that's part of the reason I moved back here. I could not come back to Dover. So again, thank you, and on behalf of Dover, I'm sure we all thank you, and I appreciate having you on our show. Guys, thank you for tuning in. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. We love doing these shows, and I have some good guests coming up, so stay tuned. But other than that, we love you. We appreciate you. Peace. It feels like Casablanca. Shawty, you my little mama. I got a crib by the water.